Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. We have our final preview of the CFL season. It's week 21, and we still have questions regarding the seeding of the playoffs that will get answered this week on the Saturday. Rick, how do you feel?
Yes.
We're now at another end of a season. This will be, I believe, our third season of Canadian Football Central. This will be your second as co-host.
Yes,
Rick.
sir.
How are you? How are you feeling about all this? About Canadian Football Central?
I mean,
about the CFL? Maybe not about your Ticats. We know how you feel about that, but
no. I'll just be glad once, we can move on. We got rid of Mark Washington. We should have got rid of him earlier than what we did, but. We can move on. We can get new talent in.
I know as a Ticat fan, you're excited for the offseason and maybe some of the moves that can happen there, but I think we'll be excited for the postseason.
It's funny because my work the other day, they're like, oh, you have to start booking your holidays for next year. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, when's CFL free agency? Because I do coverage on the Ticat Talk Network channel. And I'm like, hey, when do I do what? Like trying to predict it, and I'm trying to ask the insiders usually when it is.
Yeah.
And my first week of holidays is the exact week that the free agency is.
There you go. Lovely stuff.
So I will be doing another 8-hour stream that day.
But we got playoffs first, Rick. Don't get it too ahead of yourself.
I mean, as long as I have 3 teams that. Worst, if they win, they win. If they don't, they don't. Just, there's one team, and you know who that is, that I'd rather not see win, because I know lots of fans from that one team.
Yeah,
and they're just going to gloat.
I have a strange feeling that might be the Toronto Argonauts.
Yes. So... Any team in the playoff is going to be a hot team.
Maybe not wanting Toronto to win. Yeah, who knew that?
Yes. I don't care who else wins. I don't even care if you guys win again. Just as long as...
That doesn't sound so bad.
No, because then it's not that I don't want Toronto to win. It's then you got to listen to people bitch and complain.
Oh, let's be real.
Chad
You don't
Kelly
want Toronto to win for the
No. It's not that, because if Toronto wins, all the Toronto fans are going to be like, "Oh, where's all those Kelly haters from earlier in the year?" Blah blah blah. And then if Toronto loses, you're going to have...
They're still there.
If Toronto loses, you're going to have all the fans gloating and be like, oh, he didn't win, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, it's in a non-win-win situation.
It's a lose-lose.
But I will say, shout out to my mother, because she went to her first CFL game the other day.
Hey!
She comes to me and she's like, oh my God, I freaking hate it. She's like, I didn't know what was going on. I was just clapping when everyone else was clapping. I'm like, maybe it's one of those things where it's not just for everyone.
Well, also, football's a hard sport to get into. It's kind of confusing if you don't... it's not as straightforward as a lot of our ones, so I get it. But let's get started on this week's games. Rick, we're starting off on the Friday. The Hamilton Ticats take on the Ottawa Red Blacks. This will be the Red Blacks' final home game of the season and final game of the season here for Hamilton. BC has already concluded their season. They concluded it last week in a 27-3 win to be exact, over the Montreal Alouettes. So they'll be the only team that finished last week. Everyone else finishes this week. Rick, how are you feeling about your final game, knowing that Mr. Bo Levi Mitchell hit that 5,000-yard marker on already? And he's looking for that.
Something
MLB.
tells me. So here's the thing. Last year, he reconstructed his contract so that they could bring in a bunch of big-name players. So he was out of all the starters, he was the cheapest starter out of all the starting quarterbacks. I think he was only making like 200,000 or something like that. Then he goes and has this season, like he did this year. You can bet you he's probably getting like 100,000 or something like that increase.
Yeah, I mean,
on top of what is
well, especially considering that he took a pay cut in order for the team to be good, and then the team wasn't good.
But I mean, half of that's on the coaches. So,
I know. But the point is that he made a sacrifice for the team in order to help the team, and so he held up his part of the bargain with his stats. But the team did, like the staff and the ownership didn't hold up their part of the bargain in terms of putting a competitive team on the field.
I'm just glad him and Scott Milanovich are both on the freaking same page now.
Yeah. No, and that's always what you want.
After how horrible the beginning of the season was when those two would butt heads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how they honestly were able to at least make some of those games competitive near the end and give this team a little bit of a fighting chance getting closer.
I have some upsetting news, Carter.
Oh.
This is the last game that Chris Jones works for us for free. It's so upsetting.
It's so upsetting that you might have to start paying this motherfucker if he's going to keep working there. Paying our coaches? This is preposterous.
Bennett Williams, this is for the Red Blacks. Bennett Williams is out.
Yep.
Justin Howell is out. Lucas Cornier is out. Justin Hardy is out.
Ooh,
Jamal Morrow is out. And Marco Dubois is out. And for our Ticats, we have two people. Samar Bridges, who had season-ending quad injury, and Jamal Peters, who has neck. But he's already re-signed for next year, so... And I doubt Greg Bell will probably play this week. I don't think James Butler's time in Hamilton's long gone.
Yeah.
It would just be nice to, like, sit some of the... starters and let some of the practice squad get in to see what you have for next season.
Yep. Because, I mean, that is the focus for the Ticats at this point. As much as they'll want to, maybe have a decent game, letting some of that youth play and seeing where what kind of progress they can make and where these guys may fit in the future.
I will say, though, as much as I hate to say it, Desmond Patton, who was at 6'4", supposedly the next upcoming receiver, he's not that. Samar Bridges is, but Patman just didn't impress me in the 6 games that he played.
And so you think that either he's not it or he needs an offseason to really make some changes, and who knows, maybe next season he's able to make more of an impact.
So have you ever had it where you wanted your team to bring back a player, but you don't know if they're going to or not?
Yeah. Yes, I have.
Like, I understand, like, our receiving core has to change next year. And I'm just looking at it now. Steven Dunbar's a free agent. Brendan O'Leary's a free agent. Keandre Smith's a free agent. Giovanni Robertson's a free agent. Tim White and Luther Hukan and Navanu are our only wide receivers. Oh, no, Giovanni Robinson has a 1+1 option deal, but I mean, it's like, my whole point is I'm hoping that they bring back Brendan O'Leary Orange, because I think there's more to him than what we saw.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember the Bomber. Sorry, you mentioned something about the team.
No, I was just saying, like, was there ever a player that you deep down you wanted to bring back, but you knew, like, there was a chance that he was not coming back?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the Bomber roster, because the second I see his name, I know I'll know exactly who
this
it was. No, not this year, but in a prior year that we wanted to bring back. Yep, Justin Medlock. Yes.
Oh, yes. Good old
Kicker
Medlock.
Justin Medlock for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers after he won the Grey Cup in 2019 with the Bombers. The Bombers then went to Mark Leggio and Mortada, and neither of them were really able to do very well, with Leggio being able to put up a decent performance in some games, but then in other games just completely fall apart. Really, really inconsistent. Wasn't very much a clutch kicker at the time, at least in Winnipeg. And so the amount of times where I heard some people behind me at the games try to start a "We want Medlock" chant, because they wanted Justin Medlock to come out of retirement to try to bring it back. And this was, I think, 2 seasons after. So this would be, I want to say this is 2022, before we got Sergio Castillo back.
So, interesting thing, I don't know if you know this or not. I found this out the other day, is if you are on the practice roster
Yep.
at the end of the season, not really a free agent, not really guaranteed a free agent, but chances are you're a free agent to go sign with the NFL.
Yep.
So, any practice roster players, you can guarantee that they're not coming back unless you see something in the press that they're not coming back.
Yeah, unless they see that there's maybe a spot opening up in the future. Depends.
No. What I'm saying is that's what Dave Naylor said the other day, because a few of us were asking about it. Is at season and anyone that's on the practice roster is pretty much a free agent.
Okay.
Unless you see something in the press conference, oh, we've re-signed so-and-so type thing, or we're bringing back so-and-so for another year.
Yeah.
But
fair enough. But all in all, Rick, because we got a bit off topic. We're talking about the Ticats Red Blacks game here.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, when I look at this game, and even if we look at, so first of all, on the Red Blacks side of things, who do you predict plays this game? More Drew Brown like last week? He puts up a decent performance, so I think the Red Blacks use this game to really kind of solidify, is Drew Brown going to be the guy playing the playoffs, or is Jeremiah Masoli?
I want to say Drew Brown plays.
Yep, I think so too.
More than, because ultimately, you don't. It's one of the things where you don't want, you want to rest your players, but then at the same time, you want who's ever starting for you to get reps to prepare for next year.
And not next year, next season, or the playoffs.
Next week.
Yeah, and I think that matters in a situation like Ottawa, where they've been kind of back and forth on who they want as their quarterback, because of kind of the just in the sense of that. Drew Brown had played a bit, and then later on Masoli had played a bit, and it seemed like kind of they were rotating because of the inconsistency. It was very a 1A 1B sort of situation, and so with that, I imagine Drew Brown plays. He got 400 yards last week, so it's not like this guy isn't capable, but I think you want to get some of that consistency down before he plays against Toronto come playoffs. Because it's possible that Chad Kelly falls apart like he did last year. That's very possible. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are very much hoping for that. But all in all, I think if you're the Red Blacks, you got to focus on your own squad and make sure a guy like Drew Brown is ready for that if he's going to be the guy starting. Which it's, I think, leaning towards that. But all in all, if I'm... All in all, because we got some other games we got to get to, but what do you think of kind of the outcome of this game? Because realistically...
Ticats are winning.
Realistically, I think this one's got to go to the Ticats. I think the Ticats, they with the Red Blacks, they'll sit up most of their guys. I think Drew Brown might play, but then with the Ticats, I got a bit more to play for, in the sense of that they're playing for pride, trying to get trying to finish the season off decent, with a win at least. in a season full of losses. Try to get something positive out of that. Get some young guys, get some good experience, and then see after management probably has some changes in this and that happen with the Ticats worth and get going for next year. So I'm gonna say the Hamilton Tiger Cats come out of this one on top, and that is your prediction as well. So that is the 6 o'clock game, 6 o'clock Central. That is at 8:30 Central. Is the Toronto Argonauts take on the Edmonton Elks? Final home game of the season for Edmonton. Final game of the season for both squads. With do we know who's starting for Edmonton? Is it Trey Ford again?
You know what? Good question. Let me see if I can find out. Because I honestly have not looked at anything, like been paying attention to anything but the BC news that I found out today. Okay, so that was last. Okay, so Naylor has nothing, and you know who else we should check is our friends over at Herd. See if they've heard of anything.
Like maybe Tech Scout.
See if Scout has heard of anything. See
if Scout has been scouting the Alex and see what the situation is there. Yeah, no, that's fair. We can
I'm just trying to think who the beat writer is for. Oh, that's who it is. Duh. Dave Campbell. Okay, Mr. Campbell. Let's see what you have. I don't care about outstanding awards and all this fun jazz. We want to see. I mean, I can't see McLeod Bethel Thompson playing this week. It's pretty much like he's good as done.
I think his time in Edmonton is pretty much over.
I mean, if he hasn't played the last few weeks, like it's just
no. And literally, the fans, and everything, they're begging for direction, and I think it's one of those things where if they don't try to keep, if they don't designate Trade Ford the starter, I think he's gone. And I think he is the wise approach to take. He's the young, he is the future of this Edmonton Elks squad, and so I think giving him playing time this week is not only like just important in general. I think it's actually essential. I think pulling him off the field at a point where he's like, man, if you won't let me play the important games, you're not even going to let me play the non-important ones, then he'll be like, see you later. I'll find something elsewhere. And there are teams like Calgary that we know that will probably be in the hunt for quarterbacks. And so in a league that's, kind of rich with them in the sense of that there's going to be guys available, and it's not like there's a shortage. So I think he'll be playing this week. On the Toronto side of things, now that they have that East semifinal solidified, I expect that Chad Kelly probably doesn't play this game. If he does, I think he plays a limited role. And I think they're going to roll with Cameron Dukes for the majority of this. Especially since, no one's going to want to admit this. However, if you're the Toronto Argonauts, you need to prepare for the worst in the sense of if Chad Kelly plays the way he did last year in the playoffs, Cameron Dukes might have to come into this game. And so I think
that reminds me,
giving Dukes some
Cameron Dukes is actually. I heard earlier this week that Cameron Dukes was taken first string. Yeah. First team reps.
That doesn't shock me. Again, because they've clinched the East semifinal, they know where they stand. That to me it makes sense to play to play to play Cameron Dukes and to keep Chad Kelly out for the last bit. So to me that makes sense. But it is
true
what it is. So at the end of the day, Rick, who are you taking in your predictions?
I mean, let's be honest. Calgary ain't gonna friggin' win this game.
You mean Edmonton?
Listen, they're both from friggin' Alberta, okay? Yes.
I'm
Edmonton
sure both teams would love if you confuse them with the other.
So, just before we do our predictions, Dejan Allen for Toronto is out. Woody Barron is out. Brandon Calver is out. John Edward is out. Dufflin Given is out. Daniel Kimwangu, probably just butchered that guy's poor name, but I apologize. He is out. Jonathan Jones is out. And Robbie Smith is out. And for Edmonton, Sam Apache Pong is out. McLeod Bethel Thompson is available. Cobb is out. Forbes Blue is out. Hergy Mayala is out.
Yep.
Min Pelly is available. Jacob Zott is out. And Noah Taylor is out.
So,
but other than that,
Rick, who wins, Toronto or Edmonton?
Toronto.
My prediction is going to be Toronto. However, I'm not going to lie. I think it's a little bit closer than your prediction. I was actually pretty close to picking Edmonton. So if Edmonton wins this week, I wouldn't be entirely shocked. As if Toronto.
I mean, the only way Edmonton wins is if Duke plays garbage. And Ford plays out. Like,
I don't think he needs to play out of his mind because Edmonton will dress most of their roster.
I mean, they just have to outscore Toronto, so that means like playing out of their mind.
They just need to not allow Toronto's defense to lock them down, and they'll be okay. It's not like Toronto's defense locked down Ottawa last week. I mean, they did for 3 quarters, but in the 4th quarter, they couldn't stop a goddamn beach ball if they tried. So
true.
We'll see. But anyways, that then brings us to the Saturday, where Saturday these are where the games matter, where the games actually have an effect on the final seeding going into the playoffs, where
it affects one team, not the other.
Okay.
It affects Winnipeg, but not Montreal.
Yes, but I mean, these games, there is at least some level of weight to them for a team that is involved. So with the battle, of course, being between Winnipeg and Saskatchewan in who will get first in the West, the first game is going to be the Winnipeg Blue Bombers taking on the Montreal Alouettes. Winnipeg faced off against the Alouettes in the season opener of the year, where the Alouettes got themselves a very nice victory over the Bombers. It was a 27-12 victory in Winnipeg, so Winnipeg losing on home turf, which doesn't happen very often. So good win for the Alouettes there. Bombers have come a long way since then. They have fallen to the bottom of the standings and then risen back up to the top of the West. They're holding on to the top of the West.
They've risen from the dead.
People thought they were down and out, but they go on an incredible 8-game winning streak. They go from being down 0-4 to now sitting first in the West at 10-7. So 10 out of the past 13 games have been Bomber wins. Just a crazy comeback and resurrection of a team that looked like they might miss the playoffs. They were bottom of the West, tied with the Elks. And now they're going against the Alouettes. Alouettes have been dominant this entire season. They have already secured the East final. And so with that, some guys will play, some guys will not. Alexander will get a good amount of time this game. Fajardo might not touch the field. He might. This will be a home game in Montreal, so Be sure to have your mute buttons ready on the TV for all
yes.
of the annoying air horns that you're going to hear. And hey, the only thing that might come of good from the air horns is if Glenn Suter's running this game, and maybe it'll drown out his voice. And so,
so a couple of things.
Yeah.
You guys have had one extra practice this week. You guys have practiced 2 days, whereas Montreal's only practiced 1.
Yep.
Brandon Alexander has not practiced in 2 days, so he's most likely out. Diedrich Nichols didn't practice on Tuesday, but practiced on Wednesday. But those are the only 2, if anything, for Winnipeg.
Yep.
For Montreal, Mustafa Johnson did not practice Wednesday. Copeland, defensive back, did not practice. Dominic Davis, quarterback, did not practice. Josh Donovan did not practice. And Isaac Berglund did not practice for Montreal.
Yeah. Now, so with this, again, Montreal really with nothing to play for in this game. Winnipeg will probably have a decent amount of their guys starting still in this game, it's one of this is an opportunity to give them that West final. They have home field advantage for at least one game, either the West semifinal or the West final. If Winnipeg wins this game, the West final is theirs. If Winnipeg loses this game, it will depend on the outcome of the Saskatchewan-Calgary game. However, with the way that game looks like it'll go, it is, I think, important that Winnipeg wins it and really confirms that.
So you rather have the first round bye than the semifinal?
I mean, yeah, if you can have a guaranteed win, then absolutely. At the end of the day,
you could be cold by the time you get to. Like, I'm not saying like
we've won the Grey Cup from the West final and from the West semifinal. At the end of the day, I'm not that concerned, in the sense of if they got to do one or the other, then it is what it is.
I was just looking at the injury report. You know who could be back for the East final for Montreal? Because he's now showing up on the injury report.
Yeah.
David Cote.
Oh,
a blast from the past.
There you go. That's right. No, but all in all, I think if you're Winnipeg, you want to win this game.
You have to win this game.
Well, no, you don't have to, in the sense of that you still have the West semifinal, but you're talking about going into the West final cold. Winnipeg's won the West final the last 3 years, and I mean they've made the Grey Cup every single time out of that. I mean, you can have your opinions on if they won the Grey Cup or not, but I think them going into the West final, either warm or cold, I don't think has any effect. I think if anything, the Bombers have used that week to have a little bit extra time preparing, a little bit extra film, maybe introduce a new player, something like that. Throw your opponents off, and most importantly, rest any injuries, because possible injuries in the West semifinal can very much affect the West final. And if you're the Bombers, you want to avoid that as much as possible. So I think if you're the Bombers, you're looking to get a win here.
But the thing that I was just thinking about is I can see you guys dressing a regular lineup.
Yep.
Whereas Montreal sitting a lot of their players
exactly.
and playing.
I can almost guarantee you that is going to be how this goes. So with that, I think the Bombers, having the Bombers win this game would be a pretty safe bet. My money is going on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defeating the Montreal Alouettes, the 2:00 game on the Saturday, and clinching the West final, in which then Saskatchewan would play BC in Saskatchewan for the West semifinal winner to play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. If it goes the way that I am predicting. That's my prediction. And yourself?
Oh, I'm going with Winnipeg because there's no way Montreal is going to lose or going to beat them with like second
half a
string
roster.
players.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Which leaves us with the last game of the week, which could or could not matter depending on the outcome of the Winnipeg-Montreal game. A game that doesn't matter for Calgary, but a game that very much could matter for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Saskatchewan Roughriders take on the Calgary Stampeders. Mosaic Stadium, last home game of the season for the Riders, last game of the season for both of these teams. This game will, the importance of this game will be contingent upon Winnipeg winning or losing their game against Montreal.
Did you just say that it was the last home game at Mosaic Stadium?
Of the season.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
I said of the season, last home game of the season. For the,
Fair enough.
And so I expect that realistically the starting lineup for the Saskatchewan Roughriders will be a full roster. However, dependent upon the Winnipeg game, we might see more of the starters roll out and have more backups playing a bigger portion of this game or not, dependent on the result. If Winnipeg loses, Saskatchewan then plays as hard as they can to beat Calgary and secure the West final for themselves. However, if Winnipeg wins against the Alouettes, which it's very possible that they do, Saskatchewan, they cannot change their starting roster at this point. It would already be submitted. However, I think at some portion of the game, maybe after the first quarter or something like that, they'll still try to get a win against the Stampeders, obviously. But I think they will pull some of their players out and have more backups, as many backups in as they can, getting field time in order to preserve those guys for the West semifinal against the BC Lions, which they will have on their home turf again if Winnipeg wins that game. Or who knows, maybe they're playing the winner of Winnipeg versus BC out of the semifinal, and the West final is in Regina. All depends on that first game and then the outcome of this next one. But all in all, I mean, Calgary, I would be shocked if Calgary really puts up much here, as there's really nothing for that team to play for. We're going to be seeing probably a bit of a rebuild coming from the Stampeders. We're going to see some changes in coaching, I suspect. I suspect
all over.
I expect that they're going to be doing a lot of house cleaning house at the end of this year, which is something that realistically they probably should have done last year. But now that the writing is on the wall, both Alberta teams for the first time in 75 years, I believe, not making the CFL playoffs. And so the writing's on the wall for the Stampeders. And so it looks like they're finally going to have to do something about it. So, Rick, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else to talk about in regards to this game. Do we want to get right to the prediction?
Green.
It's going to be Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's winning this game. I would be shocked if they do not. And so the game that I think will really, really matter is the game between Winnipeg and Montreal, as I think Montreal has a bigger chance of beating the Bombers than the Stampeders have at beating the Riders. So all in all, I think that will be the outcome. I believe Winnipeg and Montreal will both have bye weeks come playoffs. I think Saskatchewan will host BC in the West, and we already know that Toronto will host Ottawa in the East. So let me know in the comment section down below what your guys' thoughts are on this, what your predictions may be. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video, share this video around, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the little notification bell, helps out the channel a ton. And then also, if you guys are on Spotify, give us 5 stars, really helps the channel out a ton. And stay tuned for some future videos. We're probably going to be doing a video at some point on the team nominations for each of the CFL awards. And then, of course, we'll be doing a CFL awards video when those are, well, awarded. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that.
Great Cup week.
Got a lot of playoffs content coming up. This weekend, we might be streaming that Saturday game, Winnipeg game. We might or may not. We will have to see. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. We'll be posting on our social media. So make sure you guys follow us on Instagram as well as X. Links to both of those in the description down below. And at some point, I'll have to actually fix the Ticats Talk link as I believe it's a broken link in down below. So ignore that link for the time being. We'll fix that in probably some future videos once I have time to get around to it. So peace, love, and positivity to all you wonderful people at home, and we'll see you guys next time.